And I get asked the question, maybe you've heard the question, what about the Mars rock? Is there really life on Mars? Like this article, are we really Martians? There was a video program when I was a kid called My Favorite Martian. It was kind of like Bewitched in one of those programs, And the idea that there's been life on Mars has been around for decades. Here's Percival Lowell's picture here, showing him thinking about, boy, he said that Mars seems to be inhabited is not the last, but the first word on the subject, back 100 years ago. He said there might be life on Mars because of the canals. Well, the Mars rover went up there. They sent, I think, I don't know how many have gone up there. Quite a few failed, good proof against evolution. But then this machine, that multi-billion-dollar machine, lands on Mars, tests the soil. Could not even find a trace of a germ on Mars. Now, Walt Brown says in his book, In the Beginning, if there's anything found on Mars, and there may be bacteria found on Mars, he says, he predicted that, it came from Earth during the flood when the fountains of the deep broke open. He does all the physics, and he's a physics professor. He said there would be enough pressure of 10 miles of rock pushing down on water to shoot things into orbit from Earth. That would then float around for a few hundred, few thousand years until they happen to get caught in a gravitational pull of whatever. And he thinks there might be stuff on Mars, and it would have come from planet Earth. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but it's a pretty convincing argument he makes for it. But there have been 35 missions to Mars. 2/3 were complete or partial failures. Lots of money we spent trying to prove life on Mars. What's the purpose? Well, I think the whole purpose of the space program anymore is to prove evolution. They're trying desperately to prove God didn't do it. And if they can find life someplace else, well then that's proof evolution in their mind. This little rock you see a picture of here, sample ALH8401.0, this was the rock that they said proved there was life on Mars. Now, this rock was actually found near the South Pole. On that rock, there's a little wiggly line right there in the red circle. That little line, they said, looks like a fossilized bacteria. This is under a microscope, extremely highly magnified. And they said, see, that's proof there's life on Mars because here's a fossilized bacteria. Well, first place, Mars is quite a ways from the Earth, okay? I mean, quite a ways from the Earth. The closest they ever get in their orbits is about 1/2 astronomical unit, or about 45 million miles. That's the closest it ever gets. If we shrank all the planets down to the size of tomatoes, and Earth was a 4-inch tomato, Mars would be a 2-inch tomato. It's about half the diameter of Earth. And the closest it ever gets in its orbit would be about 1/3 of a mile away at that scale. They say something hit Mars and knocked that rock over to Earth. Think about it. I want you to shoot a 2-inch tomato so that a piece of it splatters 1/3 of a mile and lands on a 4-inch tomato. Obviously, there should be some evidence of something hitting Mars that hard, like maybe a dent, There ought to be something to indicate they got blasted that hard to shoot something that far. But I don't buy the Mars rock at all. Well, basically what happened, NASA was trying desperately to get their grant money through Congress. Congress was not about to vote for $20 bazillion more for NASA to go look for, life on Mars. They claim the rock came from Mars. They claim it broke off 16 million years ago, drifted around through space, and finally landed 13,000 years ago near the South Pole. That's the claim, okay? The truth of the matter is it was in a closet in NASA for about 7 years, this rock was. My questions would be, what did this bacteria eat for these, 16 million years while it's flying around through space? How did it survive the impact of the initial thing blasting it out, the vacuum of space, the re-entry? It's going to burn up coming through. It's going to remelt the whole rock coming through our atmosphere. It's going to melt the whole thing. Freezing for 13 years near the South Pole. It was a NASA-funded team that did the research on the rock, and at the same time, NASA grant money was stalled in Congress. So what really was happening was they said, guys, you've got to find something important in this rock so that we can tell the people we've got to have more grant money. And Jonathan, when we did the radio program, oftentimes we'd read these articles about these hidden agenda was always send more money for more research. If only we had more money, we could do it. It's in just about every article in these science magazines. As soon as the announcement was made about the Mars rock, the grant money was released. Congress voted, yes, let's give NASA $40 bazillion, okay? A few months later, they studied the rock more and said, oh, that's not a bacteria. That's actually a crystal, a carbonate crystal, a naturally forming substance. Okay, we're sorry, folks. We'll keep looking. But thanks for the grant money. Of course, they didn't return it after that. It's just simply a carbonate crystal that forms naturally on rocks. The Bible says Eve's the mother of all living. I do not believe there's life on other planets. There is no evidence at all of any life on any other planet except right here on Earth.